Welcome to the Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast. Here are your hosts, DJ Marcotte and John Soroyce. Enjoy the show.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast, the working class podcast and the perfect podcast for the average Joe. We are the Blue Collar Ballers, DJ, John, and Thom, and you can find all of our content on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Podbean, YouTube, Twitch, and on Instagram at armchair_fantasy_football, Facebook at Armchair Fantasy Football, and Twitter at ArmchairFFPod. And of course, you can email us at armchairfb@gmail.com if you would like to get in contact with us. We would love to see that. How'd you guys Father's Day go this past weekend?
I worked, but other than that, it went fine.
I worked too.
I didn't work.
Oh yeah, must be nice. Must be nice. John and I are real men. We work when everybody else doesn't, and when all the other divas in the world take the day off. But I did come home and walk the dogs and have a nice cold beer, and that was pretty much the gist of it. I got a nice gift card to my favorite coffee shop, Aroma Joe's, courtesy of my kids, and I think my wife got me a Barreled Souls, one of my favorite breweries, t-shirt, but I'm not sure. It was just kind of left this morning for me, so I don't know. Very informal Father's Day, but that's just the way I like it, man. I don't really take Father's Day too seriously. So you did nothing, John?
I worked, I ate, I went to bed.
Eat, work, sleep, repeat, right?
Yep.
What about you?
I went golf. I went miniature golfing with the kids and the wife.
Did they dominate you?
I killed them all.
I know. I always kill the kids when I go miniature golfing, don't I, Andrew? No. It's an embarrassment. I destroy you every time. Don't act like that's not the case. I'm pretty sure your little brother beat you once too, but I can't confirm or deny that. So you won. Who came in second? Your wife?
Nadia, my youngest.
Your youngest. Oh, that's great. All kinds of fun stuff, and it was a perfect day outside in Maine. Nice and cool yesterday, which we've been dealing with significant humidity. I walked the dogs on Saturday, and their tongues were literally dragging.
Oh, it was humid, very, very humid on Saturday.
They were putting in work that day. So anyway, here we are back again at the Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast, and here for Tuesday. What's the date? You guys help me out.
22nd, I believe.
23rd.
23rd.
I'm a day off.
I don't know which one to believe. I'm probably going to err on the side of caution and say that Tom's probably right, so I'll go with the 23rd. But Thom is not right. I can confirm that it's the 22nd, so thanks, Thom. Appreciate that.
You're just taking your side, too.
Make me look bad. Anyway, it is the 22nd Tuesday. At least that's the air date. And today, we're talking about burst-out players, guys. We're talking about players that are going to burst into the elite top tier. What are you showing me? You have to tell
Monday.
me. This is a
Monday's
podcast.
the 22nd.
And what
Tuesday's
happens on
the 23rd.
What happens on a podcast, Thom, is you talk into a microphone and it gets recorded, and then we air it to the world. So today's Monday.
Monday the 22nd.
Well, okay, this is one of those pull the curtain back thing, one of those Oz things. Today is not. You might think so, but today is actually Tuesday the 23rd, which is coincidentally my sister's birthday, so I'm going to have to remember to send a birthday wish out there. You should too, young man. But yeah, in your mind it might be Monday, but I can assure you it's Tuesday, right?
Correct.
In the podcast world, in the armchair universe, it's Tuesday, so we're going to roll with that. At least that's when the folks hear it. So that's what we're going with. Before we get into burst out players, though, we're going to talk top 5 headlines for today. Are you guys ready? Nothing too exciting today, but the number one thing is it makes me very happy. But we'll start at number 5. Kareem Hunt told reporters, and by the way, today's top 5 headlines come courtesy of Roto World, as they usually do for us. Anyway, number 5. Kareem Hunt told reporters he wants to sign an extension with the Browns. Quote, "No question," Hunt responded when asked. "I would not mind playing for the Browns for a long time. Currently, Hunt Can we edit that out? We don't need to. It's fine. It's a mistake. All right.
It happens.
Currently, Hunt will play the 2020 season on a $3.26 million one-year tender. There's an argument to make that Hunt and Nick Chubb form the best running back group in the NFL. I would tend to agree with that. Well, maybe not totally, but they're right up there. Hunt played in just 8 games last season due to suspension, yet he and Chubb have already discussed thriving in Kevin Stefanski's wide zone scheme, which I do also 100% agree with. His future with the Browns likely depends on the monetary figure he's hoping to sign for, because in the end, he will ultimately be the backup, which I guess is also true. You were a little nervous when I kind of broke this news to you earlier, John. Why is that?
I think we know that he's a top 5 RB before all the, circumstances that happened to him. He goes to Cleveland. I think that he's honestly not, either he stays and they trade Chubb or they trade him, I think. I think he's great. He deserves
Why
another
would
chance.
they, Tom? Why would they trade
They can't
these
afford
guys?
both these guys. Chubb's going to be in his 3rd year this year. He's 4-year contract, so they're going to have to pay both of them. I don't see them paying both guys decent money.
Yeah, you're probably right. And running backs are earning more than ever right now. Looking at the contracts for Christian McCaffrey and Ezekiel Elliott, I don't think these guys will merit that much, but we say that every year with quarterbacks, and Joe quarterback always seems to get more than the guy the year before that might be a better player. I like having both these guys on the Browns right now, especially in this Stefanski system. I think it's tailored really well toward both of them. So I'm perfectly fine with Hunt staying there. You would think he'd keep his options open, though. A team might swoop in and say, even this year you could see Tampa saying, man, we just can't do it with this rookie and Ronald Jones, and we're not signing Freeman for what he wants. Maybe we'll trade for Kareem Hunt. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think he's nestled safely in Cleveland, and I think his workload will make him more than fantasy relevant. I think you guys agree with that for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You proved. Actually, they proved they can have both backs there.
All right, number 4, Pro Football Talks. Mike Florio reports the league remains, quote, highly optimistic the 2020 season will go forward as scheduled. Per Florio, less optimism exists that fans will be present for any of the games, however. This past week was one of COVID downers, with professional and collegiate athletes testing positive left and right. The NFLPA commented on Saturday that its members recommended that its members stop informally working out together. The coronavirus is once again burning through a number of states, most notably Florida, Texas, and Arizona. If those outbreaks remain raging a month from now when training camp is set to begin, the NFL will have a real quandary on its hands. I think this is going to happen. The NFL, they said don't have the draft. They had the draft. Like the NFL is going to proceed, and I would say probably with caution, but Roger Goodell is going to make sure that his teams are out there playing. In my opinion, this is a situation where they're not going to leave that money on the table, and we're also looking at the NBA, NHL, maybe MLB, looking at coming back out. I think some soccer leagues have come back out as well. Golf, NASCAR. I think it's going to be fine. There will not be fans, though, I don't think, John.
If it is, it'll be spread out. Like today's race they had or yesterday's race, I should say, for NASCAR. There is people in the stands, but they're very spread out.
Why risk that, Tom? I don't understand. Why
They should have
bother?
no fans whatsoever this year.
I totally agree with you. Just scrap the fans this year. They make a ton of money off the TV deals. They're still going to profit ridiculously. In NASCAR, too. Why even bother right now?
I don't know. My guess is got to be some type of revenue. I agree with you.
But then again, we let people in the grocery store. We literally, the state of Maine has pretty much just opened the floodgates on grocery stores, and people are in there elbow to elbow. So what's the difference, really? Is it that's the thing with like this whole COVID deal. Is it serious or is it not? Are we taking it seriously or are we not? Because we say we are as a government, and then we do things that totally contradict what we say. So I agree with Tom, though. I don't think there should be any fans this year. Just cut your losses on that and make, you're still going to be swimming in money like Scrooge McDuck when it comes to the the TV deals. I don't know if you agree with that, John.
Oh, I agree 100%. I think they can still play games without fans. It's nothing we've ever seen before, and I think.
And the ratings will be through the freaking. The ratings will be record ratings because all those people that would have gone to the games are watching on TV, and then people are so starved for sports that you're going to get probably an even bigger TV deal out of this whole thing.
I mean, look at more people have watched MMA, UFC because there is no sports. People are watching sports they've never even heard of, like League of Legends. I know people have heard of that, but you wouldn't believe how many people watch that.
Have you heard of it?
I don't even know what it is.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's basically fighting. What's the best way to fantasy fighting, and you're awarded points for each kill, certain things. It's hard to describe. It's almost like Final Fantasy in a way.
Oh,
you're
okay.
a character, and you got to beat other characters as a team.
So it's a computer game.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So it's kind of like Call of Duty in the same way, but a different aspect with
Or you could watch UFC where there's actual fighting.
But you're talking 50,000 to 75,000 people are watching this now.
Oh,
That's
really?
how big it's gotten with no sports.
I guess Thom and I are not among that group. Are you among that group?
No.
Okay. Stop plugging things. They're not a sponsor, by the way. Hashtag not a sponsor. Number 3, Adam Schefter shared the video of Dallas Goedert being sucker punched at a South Dakota restaurant last Friday. Goddard appears to be talking to a man at a dimly lit bar when another man lands a clean punch to Goddard's head when he wasn't looking, knocking him out cold on contact. By our standards, this video definitely backs up the report of this being a sucker punch and nothing more than that. Luckily, Goddard is fine, is out of the hospital, and will be ready for training camp in August. Expect Goddard to remain a valuable target for not just people at bars, but Carson Wentz as well in 2020. He is a consensus tight end 2 target and Roto World staff ranks. What do you make of this, Thom?
It's just weird. It's just get sucker punched in a bar. What is it's like the 80s all over again? Just people getting knocked out.
Yeah, I remember I was at John. You probably know this place. Thom, you definitely do. I was at Mulligan's. Many. It's a bar in Biddeford, Maine, which has the town itself has a reputation. The bar, not so much. I mean, I don't know if it's ever been a rough house bar, but it was a St. Patrick's Day many years ago, and some dude just walked up to another guy, and just as he's walking by, just drilled the guy as he's sitting in a bar stool, and then he just kept walking straight out and walked out the front door. So stuff like this does happen. I don't know why, man. And it's probably a pretty good thing that guy wasn't there when Dallas Goedert woke up, because that would have been a bad day for that dude. But somebody must have recognized him and wanted to make a name for themselves, would be my only guess. Or a female was involved, right?
I'm sure he just wanted to make a name for himself.
Yeah.
Could have been a Giants fan, too.
Have you ever been sucker punched at a bar, John?
No.
Okay.
Have you?
I know you.
I have.
Tell your story.
Mulligan's.
Yeah, it's the same place, so maybe it does have a reputation.
I was walking to the bathroom one day and some kid punched me in the face. I came back to him, he punched me again. I was a tiny guy, so he just wanted to hit me.
This was a long time ago.
1996.
Were you
97?
hitting on his girlfriend?
No,
I don't know if I believe that. Was our friend? We have a friend Joe who has a reputation himself. Was he hitting on the guy's girlfriend?
No, he was just one of those guys looking for trouble.
He just thought you had a punchable face.
Exactly, I do, but
All right, we're having fun today on the old Armchair Fantasy Football podcast. That's what it's all about. Moving on to number 2, Bengals offensive coordinator Brian Callahan has been impressed by Joe Burrow's ability to understand what adjustments need to be made for each play during off-season meetings. Callahan suggests Burrow being around football from an early age as a coach's kid as a factor in his football maturity, something Callahan would know, being the son of former Raiders head coach Bill Callahan. What if I do this wow, this is a really weird quote. What if I do this and this in this situation? Great, I love that. That's what guys who have been playing for 8 years do. So that's a really strange quote from Callahan. I guess you have to listen to it in context to really understand it. Or I'm just really dumb. Callahan described of his quarterback. Obviously, Zoom meetings are not football practices, but all indications point to Burrow being ready to go from day one as the Bengals starter. In mock drafts, guys, I haven't seen Burrow going very high. Like, he's a late round quarterback at this point. Do you see that rising?
I think it'll rise a little bit, but I think people are skeptical a little bit. That 1 year in LSU, I don't think there's some people are still not sold on him. He's going to be the starter, clearly.
What is your outlook for him, though? I mean, 6 months ago, you were in love with this kid, and you were considering taking him number 1 overall in our keeper league as a 5th-round pick, basically.
I think he's still high up. Even if he has a rough rookie year, which I don't think he will, I think he'll put up decent. I see, honestly, like 25 to 28 passing touchdowns, probably like 14 picks.
What do you think?
So same area.
Yeah.
He's really, really good. So
he's a steal right now, though.
Oh yeah, he could be a QB1. But
it's just a matter of where you want to draft him.
Right.
But same time, like you said, mock drafts, he's going late. He could be a gem in keeper leagues, but it depends.
Or Dynasty, obviously.
Yeah.
But Dynasty, he's going higher. But he was a 2nd-round pick in our Dynasty league, too. So it's just weird that the buzz around this kid 6 months ago is not anywhere near what it is now, and it's actually the lights have dimmed on it. More stuff like this coming out, though, is going to raise that hype. But the one thing that we're dealing with this year, guys, that we haven't in previous years, there's not much going on for team activities. So those hype trains are, in the shed. They're not out yet. So it'll be interesting. You could be able to steal guys like Joe Burrow because the news that's coming out isn't as intense and as frequent as it would be in a typical season where you see a lot of organized team activities and training camp and preseason and stuff like that. Well, you might not see that stuff this year, which works to the advantage of people that listen to podcasts like this because you're going to be ahead of the curve on a lot of these guys. Number 1, Dak Prescott signed his franchise tender today. This ensures he will be at least showing up for training camp on time and be under contract for 2020. The franchise tag will pay him a whopping $31.4 million this season, but both sides are looking to iron things out long term. The major holdup reportedly is how many years the long-term contract should be. Prescott wants to sign a 4-year deal. The Cowboys want him for 5 years, naturally. With the future salary cap numbers uncertain because of COVID-19, things are more complex than ever. They have until July 15th to agree to terms on a long-term deal, and most outlets are reporting that they are, quote, not close. If they don't, they will have to renegotiate after this season. Stay tuned. I'm just happy it looks like he's going to be playing this year.
I think it's good that it's done over. He signed his tender. It's less of a distraction for the team. I know they haven't really started training camps, but now this is done and over with. They'll deal with the contract later on, but it's one less distraction for the team. Now they can just focus on, playing.
Tom, there is a lot of hype around both Kyler Murray and Dak. I would say significantly more on Kyler Murray. Is Dak a better quarterback this year than Kyler Murray in terms of fantasy?
I say Kyler's number 1, but I think they're identical, truthfully.
Yeah. They have a lot of the same tendencies. I just think, for me, I'd rather have Dak, I guess, because Dak is more proven. And there's still a little bit of unknown with Kyler Murray. But Dak Prescott is such a steal, dude. You and I were talking about, we were doing some mock drafts about how Jordan Howard is so disrespected, in terms of ADP and where he's going. Same could be said for Dak Prescott. The guy's in the top 3 every year, and people just still don't look at him as that. And now we're looking at an upgrade offensive coordinator, an upgrade a head coach. I know it's the same offensive coordinator, but more is allegedly going to have more, stroke in that offense and more say in that offense. The addition of CeeDee Lamb and obviously good offensive line. What's not to like about Dak Prescott? And now it appears that he should be out there playing football and throwing the football for the Dallas Cowboys. So exciting stuff in Dallas. And one more great fantasy quarterback to put out there on the list. No holdout here. You ready to burst out?
Sure.
Tom, you ready to burst out?
Let's do it.
So we've got, I think, what did we have? The Magnificent Seven here of burst out players. And again, these are guys that we think are going to creep into the tippity top of the top tiers at their respective positions. We agree on most of these guys. Some, it isn't a universally agreed upon decision to put some of these guys on here. I know I'm a big DJ Chark guy. John, you're into DJ Chark. Tom, not so much. There's guys like Cortland Sutton is on this list. Tom, you love Cortland Sutton. We like him. But overall, I would expect big things from every single one of these players on this list. And we're actually, of course, going to start with the aforementioned. Can you sing the song for us, John? It's a really long intro. Go, John.
I messed that up.
It's DJ Chark.
DJ Chark. DJ Chark.
So yeah, DJ Chark is the first on our list, but not. This is in no particular order. Just to be clear. But when you're looking at DJ Chark, there's a lot I like about Chark. I'm very excited about his potential for a true third-year breakout that I think might actually be a bust out and a burst out this season. The guy's an electric player. He has 96 percentile speed, 93 percentile burst, and he used that ability to be among the top at his position in explosive plays with Gardner Minshew as his quarterback. Over 10 yards per reception in 7 of his first 8 games. He's fast. He's explosive. He excels in jump ball situations. He's physical. He's got great ball tracking skills. His catch radius is strong. Gives him great contested catch ability. Chark finished last season, guys, with 73 catches on 118 yards with 1,008 receiving. 73 catches, 118 targets with 1,008 receiving yards and 8 touchdowns in his sophomore season. I don't know if I took my stupid pill today, but hopefully it wears off soon. This year he stares down the classic third-year breakout. Only the breakout kind of happened last year if you think about it. This year Chark could burst into the top tier of NFL receivers. He also didn't drop one pass all season and sported an over 50% deep ball completion rate. If Chark can fully tap in to his 4.34 40 speed on the outside, his deep ball percentage could even be higher. What I like most about Chark is the fact that he's still developing. He's got a great chemistry with Gunter, as we call him, after posting 8.9 yards per target with Minshew, as opposed to 7.4 with Foles. Looking at the other receiving options, I don't see much competition, especially with Minshew. Laviska Shenault is intriguing to me, but he plays a different role than Chark. And rookie wide receivers rarely break out in year one, although it has happened more recently, but it's very unusual historically. Nevertheless, I have a ton of confidence in DJ Chark. I think he'll burst out in 2020. And the more Minshew develops, the higher it raises Chark's ceiling, in my opinion, John.
I think Chark, he put up these numbers with Minshew being a rookie. So they have a slight chemistry, but now...
And Chark was kind of a rookie, too, because he didn't play much in his rookie year.
No, he didn't. So it's like his second rookie year. He barely played at all his first season, but if he's doing this in the first year with a rookie quarterback, imagine what he's going to do this year. And they're going to throw the ball, again, obviously. Teams, it depends. They're going to be down. Their defense is hurting. There's going to be games they're going to be behind. They're going to throw a lot this year. They didn't do anything to improve that defense. So yeah. I can see him getting about 140 targets this year.
Yeah.
I really think his numbers go up more than they already are.
Yeah, and his deep ball ability is going to give him some games where he's going to just completely, for lack of a better term, burst out for you.
And Shenault will take some of that pressure off and actually help him get better.
Yeah.
So I think Chark can actually easily creep into the top 10 this year.
Tom, what do you think of the competition in Jacksonville? Is there anybody there that you think could creep into the workload of DJ Chark?
Oh no, the team's a lame duck this year. They're going for Trevor Lawrence. That's the whole key for this team.
Tanking for Trevor.
They
got some competition in New England there, but some of us don't agree on that. But yeah, so I mean the opportunities there, the talents there, should see a big boom from DJ Chark. Some questions there, like Tom kind of said, lame duck team, but they should be playing catch up a lot throughout the season as well.
Honestly, his biggest competition,
I think it's Shenault. Honestly,
Westbrook has declined.
Westbrook's not the guy.
I 100% agree with you. I don't think
so. Who do you think's his number one competition?
Fournette.
I guess
if he sees those targets again.
And Chris Thompson's there too, but you don't even know if Chris Thompson's going to make the team. Like that.
He's not the same.
That's not a guarantee.
He's not the same since his surgery.
Right. All right, cool. You guys ready to move on to the next guy?
Sure.
Good old Kyler Murray. We're going to probably turn down the hype train on Kyler Murray after this episode because we have talked so much about him. But we all love Kyler Murray here at the Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast. And here's why. With an island of misfit toy wide receiver core, Kyler Murray still managed to show out in a bunch of different categories. We talked about it before. 9th in deep ball attempts, 6th in deep ball completion percentage, 3rd in money throws, 2nd in rushing yards at the position, 3rd in red zone carries per game, 4th in rushing touchdowns, just to name a few. All of this as a rookie with a rookie head coach and an offense dealing with an entirely new playbook, not to mention a trash offensive line finishing 26th in pass protection, guys. These guys were brutal. Think about all of that as a rookie. This year, Murray has an improved offensive line, another year in Cliff Kingsbury's offense. Oh, and there's something else. What am I missing on this one? Oh, yeah, that's right. The addition of DeAndre frickin' Hopkins to his arsenal. Hopkins is only going to help Murray's deep ball game even more and add maybe the biggest receiving threat in the game for opposing defenses to have to deal with, opening up Murray's run game even more as well. Murray could easily, and I've said it before, and I'm doubling down, be this year's Lamar Jackson or Pat Mahomes. The difference is his ADP is a lot higher than theirs was the last couple of years. Thom, I know you're big on Kyler Murray. What do you like most about him?
He's an athlete. He's the only player ever to be drafted in the first round of the MLB draft and the following year in the NFL draft.
Not even Dion did that. Right?
Dion, Bo Jackson.
Yeah, right, Bo. Yeah, that's a great point. John, what do you love about Kyler Murray?
I love the pace of the offense. It's very fast.
Great point.
There's going to be a lot of opportunities. Here's a team with and I'm not even talking offensively. Adding Hopkins is a whole nother dimension. But this team is another team that is going to be playing behind at certain times because their defense is still improving. That's great for the offense because you're going to sling that ball. You're going to take those chances more downfield. Murray's got nothing but a ton of potential here. The only thing that I'm a little frowned upon, and you don't read into these all the time, it's the strength of schedule. It's one of the hardest in the league.
I was just going to bring that up.
25th.
Oh, I have 25th at Fantasy Pros.
20. Okay, it was either 25th or 26th, but his deep ball attempts, he was top. I mean, he's top 10 in so many categories. I get him going, but he was number 1 in snap share, 100%.
In that, we talked about Dak and Kyler, and those are guys that I'm actually kind of looking at for one of my leagues. Dak has the 6th easiest schedule for quarterbacks, so that's what really separates the two. But that is a good point. I don't think it's going to hinder Kyler's breakout. And Thom, I don't know if you agree with this, but having such a tough schedule, I think makes it more likely that they might be playing from behind and having a running gun.
The defense is decent. They're not great, but they play in a tough conference. The division's really tough for them, so they can play from behind.
But they'll get in shootouts with like Seattle.
Yeah, but they always, their division, they do play tough. They always give San Fran a run for their money.
Kyler Murray, by the way, destroyed San Fran not once but twice last year with like 30-plus performances in both of those games. So, I mean, we can talk about Kyler all day long, the excitement that we have about him. I've asked you before, John, what is the difference between Kyler Murray this year and Baker Mayfield last year? Because there was a similar level of hype around Baker Mayfield last year, and he busted it in the wrong direction. Thom, what do you think the difference is between these two guys?
Kyler is a teammate and a leader. He right now with Dallas, he's supposedly got 20 of his teammates. He brought down there on his own dime to practice with them. He's paying for their lodging. He's paying for their food. Wow. All the quarterbacks, the tight ends, the wide receivers, the running backs, they're all in Dallas right now playing with Kyler Murray.
And Baker's more of a me first.
Baker was doing ESPN commercials the second year.
True.
So.
Great point. You guys got anything else on Kyler?
Nope.
We just all love him, right? I think we all love Miles Sanders as well. He is next on our burst out players list. I'm feeling a little cheap because while I've been touting Miles Sanders since the beginning of 2019, the world seems to be catching up with me, and the Sanders hype train and ADP might be getting a little out of control right now, guys. Some would say too out of control, but that doesn't make his burst out potential for 2020 any less potent. Some say they're concerned about the fact that Doug Peterson almost exclusively uses a backfield by committee approach. I'd like to myth bust that a little bit, though. Because once Peterson and the Eagles realized what they had in Sanders, which was around week 9, they started giving him double-digit carry counts. It started slow with 10 carries, but it escalated to upwards of 20 carries and 6 receiving targets. Miles Sanders rewarded Philly and his fantasy owners with anywhere from 11.6 to 35.2 PPR fantasy points in that span. Even if Philly took the committee approach, guys, you're still talking about a team that finished 7th in the league in team run plays per game. It's foolproof for Sanders, in my view. And despite not getting significant work until the second half of the season, Sanders still finished in the top 20 in rushing yards, 13th in targets, and even managed 7th in receiving yards at the position in basically just half the season, if you look at it from a manner of speaking. From an efficiency standpoint, Sanders finished 7th in yards per touch, 5th in juke rate, and 15th in yards created. This season, Sanders is fighting off Boston Scott, but Boston Scott is a career jag. He's just a guy, and he'll be all. And another thing to think about: Sanders is going to be running behind a 14th ranked O-line in 2019. Let's not forget a replenished wide receiver core, as well as a quarterback that actually finished in the top 10 in 2019 with Greg frickin' Ward as his number 1 wide receiver, that being Carson Wentz. Sanders is primed for a huge year this year, guys. At this pace, he's not going to be the value that we hoped, but he's a great runner. He's a great pass catcher on a good offense with a good QB. Exactly what you want from today's top-end fantasy football running back. That's what Miles Sanders brings to the table. John, are you with me?
Yes. So
dramatic pause. Again, this is a podcast.
Yeah. So Miles Sanders, like you said, he did not get the opportunities he should. For someone that only started 11 games, he did play in all 16, but he was barely, or how should I say, used efficiently until the end. Week 12 was about the time he popped off. That's when he started seeing the 15-plus carries. Like, they're like, hey, this kid is good.
Yeah.
The one thing the one thing I will say, though, from the very beginning, they did use him in the receiving game, but as the season progressed, especially week 12, is when he saw an average of 5 to 8 targets a game, something he wasn't seeing at the beginning. But that shows the difference in his stats, because in fantasy points per game, after week 12, he averaged double-digit fantasy points all but week 17. And let's be honest, week 17 mostly is hey, we're pretty much done this season. So he's great. I mean, honestly, I don't... If a committee here, if it does happen, I think it's an 80-20 share.
By the way, if you guys can hear some slight construction in the background, we do apologize. We are transitioning our studio. We're in the middle of that, so we will not have video for the next couple of episodes at least. So as part of that transition, you might hear some construction in the background. We do apologize for that. Hopefully it's not too disruptive. Hopefully it doesn't come across too heavy over here on the airwaves. Tom, let's get back to Miles Sanders. What do you got on them?
He was in a committee in college, too, but he was also in the committee with Saquon Barkley for 2 years. Then comes to the NFL, he sat behind Jordan Howard for a few games. Now it's his team, too.
Yeah, so we're all in agreement. He's going to be probably a workhorse there, and even if he's not, he's still going to provide you with top-end fantasy numbers with his passing, with his receiving. That's what you look for in a running back in fantasy football. I think he'll definitely be in the top 5 this year. Do you guys agree with that? I know it's kind of bold.
He's going to be close, I think. He might be
5,
like 6 or
6,
7.
7.
Yeah.
Okay.
He'll be near there.
All right. Sounds good. Oh. Johnny boy, we're moving on to one of your keepers.
Galladay, baby.
Galladay. Kenny Galladay is next on our list. I love Kenny Galladay. I think I'm more in love with Kenny Galladay now than you are, John. There's a lot to love about this guy. 18.3 yards per reception last year, which was 4th best among wide receivers, to go along with 10.3 yards per target, which was 6th best at the position. Both immense numbers. Galladay finished with 11 touchdowns in 2019. That was the league's best at the position. Galladay got it done down the field, finishing number 1 in deep targets, 6th in yards, and 7th in completed air yards. There's more because I love Galladay so much. He was a stud in all the right categories, such as 7th in target premium, 8th in dominator rating, 7th in contested catch rate, 4th in target distance, 6th in average target distance, and 7th in contested catch rate again, apparently. He was really good at contested catch. What's even more impressive is that those already impressive numbers are with these guys. Let's talk about David Blau.
Blah, blah, blah.
25th 40-yard dash, 42nd burst score, and 24th percentage of agility score, 34th in pass attempt distance, 40th in money throws, 35th in true passer rating, 35th in true completion percentage, 40th in red zone completion percentage, and 35th in pressured completion percentage. Not very good numbers, guys. Not at all. Did you guys were you guys impressed with David Blau last year?
I was, especially against the Bears.
Those numbers?
Well, not with those numbers, but he did impress me in that Chicago game where he actually did take the lead and threw that nice gem to Galladay for 80 yards, I believe, or 85. But he's not good.
So, yeah, given what I just said, not very good, but it gets better. Because he also had Sheriff Driscoll throwing to him last year. So I just want to throw out there, guys, Sheriff Driscoll, as we like to call him, 14th percentage throw velocity, 54th percentage agility score, 42nd pass attempt distance, 26th ranked red zone completion percentage, 48th ranked accuracy rating, 55% passer rating. That was Sheriff Driscoll and David Blau and what they brought to the table at the quarterback position for the Detroit Lions. I could go on and on about how bad the quarterback play was in Detroit. The breakout that Galladay achieved in 2019 just doesn't match up with the bad quarterback situation, but he broke out anyway. In simple terms, it never should have happened, but it did. In 2020, we see the return of Matt Stafford. Only once did Stafford not throw between 4,000 and 5,000 yards in a 16-game season. Every other 16-game season was 4,000 plus yards. Stafford, he had multiple 5,000-yard seasons. He threw 19 touchdowns in just 8 games last year. That pace would have put him at number 1 on the season in passing touchdowns. Yep, that's even more than Lamar Jackson. Stafford's career passer rating is 89. In his 8 games last year, it was 106. Galladay is the quintessential burst-out candidate this year. He broke out last season with a bunch of scrubs, and this season he breaks the mold entirely. I believe in it as much as I've ever believed in anything in fantasy football. Galladay is going to explode this year. Am I crazy, John?
No, you're not crazy. You look at the team stats. Okay, Marvin Jones, 62 receptions, 779 yards, 9 TDs. Good season, right?
Absolutely.
Danny Amendola, 62 receptions, 678 yards, 1 touchdown. Galladay, 65 receptions for 1,190 yards and 11 TDs. He had 3 more receptions than these two and had still 1 more touchdown than those two combined.
Yeah.
And then the crazy part, you almost combine their yardage and he's just slightly behind those two. Even with Marvin Jones, he put up over 400 yards more than Marvin Jones. So what does that say about his ability as well?
Jones was hurt too, but I think Jones being out there benefits Galladay because teams have to take Marvin Jones somewhat seriously.
Yes.
There was nothing out there other than Danny Amendola. That's great. Kenny Galladay's not benefiting from Danny Amendola being on the field. I don't think. John, Thom, is he going to burst out this year?
Oh yeah, it's his contract year. He's going to get paid.
That too. Yep.
He's a little old for 4-year play. He's going to be 27 this year.
Yeah,
He was
yeah.
23 as a rookie. That was kind of old.
I think he played all 4 years in college, and he must have. But that makes him more of a fine wine, right? No, we love Kenny Golladay this year. You guys got anything else on old Kenny G?
Nope.
All right.
Expect big things from him.
Moving on to Josh Jacobs. I said it coming out of Alabama. Josh Jacobs is a workhorse back with a dual threat skill set. He proved me right at every opportunity, but he just didn't get the opportunity we were all looking for, unfortunately, last season. The big knock on Jacobs coming out of Bama was that he wasn't accustomed to a big workload, having less than 300 carries in his college career. Some would look at that and say that he doesn't have a lot of tread on the tire. I'd be one of those people. At 5'10", 220, Jacobs has the perfect size for a dual threat workhorse. He also has the numbers to back it up. Josh averaged 4.8 yards per carry in his rookie season. He rushed for 1,150 yards and 7 touchdowns in just 13 games. Jacobs proved that he's just as dynamic in the pros as he was in college, with a 7th-ranked breakaway percentage, 6th-ranked juke rate, 8th-ranked evaded tackles, 6th-ranked... boy, oh boy. The show prep yesterday must have been really intense, and I might have had a couple of beers while I was doing it, because I managed to put 6th-ranked juke rate on my show prep twice, and in addition to the other stat that I put on there twice, he's really good with the juke rate, folks. That's how I'm going to save it.
The human joystick.
Yeah, he was 3rd-ranked breakaway runs, ranking 9th in yards created, finishing 11th in dominator rating. We might as well say all these stats twice because he's that damn good. He is as advertised. Most important aspect, what Josh Jacobs provides you in your fantasy box score. That's the most important thing, the points. In 9 out of Jacobs' games last year, he provided you with double-digit PPR points. That's all while finishing behind Marlon Mack, Sony Michel, and Carlos Hyde in carries. Think about that. These guys got more carries than Josh Jacobs. His biggest issues last year were dealing with a dinged-up shoulder, the Raiders' reluctance to let him off the leash, and just 27 targets for an excellent pass-catching talent. But there are signs that the team is ready to fully unleash Josh Jacobs. Raiders general manager Mike Mayock said he expects running back Josh Jacobs to be more heavily involved in the passing game in, quote, phase 2 of his development in his sophomore season. Coach Gruden himself says about Jacobs, quote, the kid is really good. As he continues to develop in the passing game, he's going to be great. I think one of the best. He makes a lot of hard yards, tough 4-yard gains, and he's elusive, he's powerful, and he's an Oakland Raider, and we're happy about that. I think Jacobs gets unlocked in 2020 and bursts out for fantasy owners. Do you guys agree?
Yes.
Yes.
And
now analyze.
Okay. Jacobs as a rookie.
We're having a rough day here at the Working Class Podcast.
Jacobs as a rookie averaged 4.8 yards per carry, which is great for a rookie. I mean, you got pros that don't even average that. He averaged 14.7 fantasy points per game. What I like about Jacobs is last year he had nagging injuries that took away from his carries. Also games, certain teams they played, they were behind, so he didn't get used. But the one upside that he has that should add, it's not even the usage of just the running game. Receiving his highest last year targets in a game was 5 against the LA Chargers. If they hold true to what they are saying and he averages 4 to 5 targets per game, he's going to double his targets easily. He'll have 50 to 60 targets, let's say 30 to 35 receptions. Already proven that, and then the yardage as well as touchdowns. He did show good ball security. Only had 1 fumble last year, which is great. But Gruden has been known to have 1,000-yard backs every season, and he proved it first year as a rookie with 1,150. And I just see him improving that. But like I said, there was games last year. He had that nagging shoulder injury, missed 2-3 series in a game. Next game after that, got banged up again. He gets all that's like you said, that workload. If he's accustomed to that workload, had a good off season, the sky's the limit for Jacobs.
Great. Tom, what do you think of Josh Jacobs?
Oh, he's a stud. He ranked number 2 overall in elusiveness according to Pro Football Focus, only behind Nick Chubb.
I gotta lock the liquor cabinet up again.
I know. I'm drinking.
Continue. I'm sorry.
His rookie year, he played 13 games. Marshawn Lynch and Todd Gurley also played 13 games the rookie year. Almost similar numbers between the three of the guys. 1,150 yards and 7 touchdowns, 20 receptions, 166 yards for Jacobs. Marshawn Lynch, 1,115 yards, 7 touchdowns, 18 receptions, 184 yards. Todd Gurley at 1,106 yards, 10 touchdowns, 21 receptions, 188 yards. Mirror images of two of the best running backs the last 10 years.
And I could easily see him as that much of a fantasy product as those two guys. Love Josh Jacobs this year. Only thing that scares me is the Raiders got a Raider sometimes, and they could screw this up. But provided they give him the workload, he's going to burst out for sure. Tom, next on our list is a guy that you like a lot, so I'm going to let you kind of break him down a little bit. It's Courtland Sutton from Denver.
Yes, Courtland Sutton. He has the size to be a number 1 wide receiver. He's 6'4", 218 pounds, and runs a 4.5 40. Kenny Galladay is 6'4", 218 pounds, runs a 4.5 40. This is his second year and going to his third year. Usually this is that breakout year we all figure. His first 2 years, he had 42 receptions for 704 yards his rookie year, and 72 yards and 1,112 yards with 6 touchdowns in his second year. He had 124 targets last year. He ranked 6th in the NFL in target share percentage, only behind guys like Julio Jones, Keenan Allen, Odell Beckham Jr. with 25% share. With 124 targets behind being thrown to him in 476 attempts with 3 different quarterbacks.
I promise we're not drinking today, guys. we had a tough Father's Day weekend. Sorry, continue, Tom.
He had 476 attempts from 3 different quarterbacks: Drew Lock, Joe Flacco, and Brandon Allen.
Are they good?
I think one is.
I almost caught you on the lock thing. Sorry.
There were 20 pass catchers that had 1,100 yards last year or more. Sutton ranked number 2 and the fastest to get to that, with the quarterbacks having 476 attempts. The number 1 team for one guy was Stephon Diggs. Their team did it in 466 attempts.
I love Stephon Diggs, for the record. Courtland Sutton, I am at 6'3", maybe he grew an inch, but he's a big boy. 6'3", 218 is what I have him at. 6'3", 6'4", somewhere in between there. 84th percentile speed score, 97th percentile agility score, 90th percentile catch radius. There's a reason Sutton was productive with just about the worst quarterback play you can imagine. Sutton still managed to finish as a wide receiver 2 at 17th overall, averaging 13.4 PPR points per game and finishing with double-digit PPR points in 11 out of 16 games with those horrible quarterbacks. To me, Tom, the big question is Drew Lock. In my view, the Broncos signal caller will be the reason for Sutton's successes or Sutton's struggles. And here are some pros and cons from Lock's scouting report that I got from NFL Draft QBs. He has good arm strength, throws a very good deep ball. However, he struggles with footwork and short and intermediate throws and going through his progressions. Lock draws comparisons everywhere from Jay Cutler up to Matt Stafford. If he's Stafford, it's a burst out. If it's Cutler, maybe not so much, but it's still possible. To me, Tom, the biggest issue here is Lock. You're a believer.
I like Drew Lock. He reminds me of Matt Ryan. Same size, same everything.
I will say this about Drew Lock. Last year, as the starter, he was 4-1. He had one fourth quarter comeback. He also had 2 game-winning drives.
Tebow won some games too.
Yeah.
That's a valid point. Yeah. And I'm not picking on Drew Lock because he does have.
He had
potential.
7 TDs in that time frame. That was 5 games and 3 interceptions. So he's not like wowing you like double-digit touchdowns in those 5 games, but he game managed those games in that with 4-1. So if you did that over a span of a season, he'd actually get him in the playoffs. But it's not just him that's going to get him in the playoffs as well.
But I've warmed up to Sutton a lot. Tom's kind of put him more on our radar. He's a stud player.
He is.
And sometimes stud players get hurt by their quarterback. But I think his floor is great. I think his ceiling is outstanding, and that's why he's on the burst out list. All right, next on the list, Joe Mixon. Let's face it, guys. Mixon's biggest problem has always been less about his actual ability and more about Cincinnati's inability to utilize Mixon as a true workhorse. In 2019, Mixon had 278 targets, which tied guess who?
Oh, Chris Carson.
Yes, it tied Chris Carson. It was significantly less than Derrick Henry, who led the league with 303. We're talking about 6'1", 228-pound hammer by the name of Joe Mixon, who currently consistently runs it over 4 yards a carry throughout his career. That's not the most criminal trespass that Cincy's offense has committed on Mixon. Mixon saw just 45 lousy targets in 2019. That's an insult to his ability as a receiver, especially given his 8+ yards per reception, which is a great number for a running back catching passes out of the backfield. Nope, not going to take advantage of that. Zach Taylor and the gang would rather target their running backs just 15% of the time. Meanwhile, they're targeting their garbage tight ends at more than 19%. I guess I get it. Mixon only led the league in evaded tackles. Mixon only finished second in yards created. No big deal. He only finished 8th in dominator rating. He only finished 4th in juke rate. Only a 92nd percentile speed score. The good news is he's only 23. Cincinnati only finished with the worst record in 2019, gifting them the best quarterback prospect since Peyton Manning by the name of Joe Burrow. They only have A.J. Green back. They only got Hakeem Adeniji in the draft, whom offensive line coach Jim Turner swears by. They only got back 2019 first-round tackle Jonah Williams back from a season-ending injury, and only signed Xavier Su'a-Filo at right guard in free agency. The only thing this team has to do is give Joe Mixon the damn ball. They will. And when they do, Joe Mixon is finally going to burst out. But if they don't, well, it is the Bengals after all, isn't it, John?
Yes.
So what do you think?
I think Joe Mixon, the stats that he did last year for a team that was 2-14, was mind-blowing. And I think he can improve these. I mean, number one in the evaded tackles, and you're on the Cincinnati Bengals, a 2-14 record. He puts up 1,100 rushing. I think he can all-purpose get over 1,500-1,600 yards this year, if not more, depending on if they utilize him more in the passing game. And even his carries got dictated by them being blown out certain games, and they were passing a ton, but they weren't using them. But like you said, offensive lineman, talent are back. Joe Burrow is going to make a difference. A.J. Green's present will make a difference. I can't see Mixon doing any worse than top 5 back.
Mick, I'm going to tell you something right now. With the proper utilization, Joe Mixon could be the
Number
running
one,
back
yes.
one overall this year. Tom, do you see that as a potential landing spot for
He
him?
could. The team finally woke up to him. From week 10 to week 17 last year, he trailed only Derrick Henry 702 yards with 663 of his own. So down the stretch, he was very strong.
Yeah, and the arrow's pointing in the right direction. Like I said, they will use this guy, I think, to his fullest extent. And you know, the Bengals are the Bengals, and the Bengals tend to bungle, but they have a new lifeblood on their team in Joe Burrow, and that changes the landscape. When you get a potential franchise quarterback, the number one overall pick with the pedigree of Joe Burrow, with the upside of Joe Burrow, and with the track record, albeit in a small sample size, of Joe Burrow, it just changes the landscape of your team, and it changes how you approach the game and how you play the game. And that's what Joe Burrow brings to the table for Cincinnati. And that's why I think it is definitely wheels up for Mixon. And as much as I love Galladay, Mixon could be the biggest burst out player on our 7-player list here. So yeah, that's it. That's it for our burst out players.
I also want to say, when he said he exploded that second half,
Yeah.
there's one game that's kind of makes him look bad, but that's also because he had the stomach flu. Week 16 against Miami, he was supposed to destroy Miami.
Right.
Every writer,
Yeah.
everybody had him picked to destroy Miami. And then I think it was
Luckily, nobody plays in week 17,
Yeah.
or at least you shouldn't.
week 20, 20 minutes before the game. I remember he tweeted out something on Twitter. I don't feel good. I have a stomach flu. I'm going to make it as long as I can.
Don't start me. Basically.
And guess who started them?
Oh, jeez.
21 carries for 50 yards
That's
and 2.4 average. He was awful that game. I should have just listened to him. He even warned us.
That is bad form. That is bad form for you. I'm surprised at you. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Joe Mixon this year and every other player on our burst out list. Are there anybody that we had on our list that you thought shouldn't have been on there? Any players that we didn't have on there that we should have on there? Feel free to email us at armchairfb@gmail.com. Again, forgive us for being a little distracted today, given we've got some construction going on. We are moving our studios to a little bit more of a cozy environment. There's carpeted floor there.
We're going to smoke the pipe. And
There are pipes there that we could smoke if we so chose. But yeah, so we're making an adjustment in terms of our studio, so bear with us. There will be some potential distractions as we record our shows. You got three guys that love fantasy football, and we've done this just about a year now, John, so we're still learning as we go. And Thom has hopped on with us and has never done any sort of broadcasting in his life, to my knowledge. So appreciate what you're doing, Thom, and learning as you go. Doing a fine job with us here. Next show is Bounce Back Players. So guys that might have a little bit of a resurgence here. Spoiler alert, Gronkowski will be on that list, whether you two guys like it or not. But until then, on Thursday's episode, we'll try to remember the date and save the date for that one. We'll be talking about Bounce Back Players. And that's a pretty long list this year. I could see a lot of guys that could have a resurgence in fantasy football in 2020. So it's going to be pretty fun and exciting. And then next week, we're mock drafting again. It's that time again already.
Love it.
Try to do about once a month. So we haven't done one since May 28th, if you can believe that. So that's coming next Monday. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you for supporting the show. As usual, we appreciate every time you guys listen, all the support you can give us, and keep those good vibes coming. And we'll see you on Thursday with Bounce Back Players. Have a great day.
See you guys.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to the Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast. Thanks for supporting the show. Until next time.